All right. Good morning, everyone. I am, excuse me for sounding nasal. I caught a little cold from my son. So we are going to, uh-oh, hold on. Got the wrong thing going. Hold on, everybody. Somebody mute your microphone. Okay, so I'm sorry. Got the wrong thing sharing up here. I'm gonna come back to you. Let's see if this is better. I'm gonna share our screen. Let's see what's going on here. What's going on with my screen? All right, okay. All right. Good morning, and let's go over our week 5 announcements. Can you believe how fast time is flying? And we are in the first week of April. This week, week 5, I want you to go to, I hope everything is set up pretty good for you, but you're going to go to week 5 module of April the 4th. Week 5 labeled the week of April the 4th. You're going to complete the discussion on monasteries. You're going to we're going to talk about what a monastery is, um, what a monastery work, in this type of culture that we have today. Okay. You're going to go ahead and review the PowerPoint for 7 and 8, chapter 7 and 8, because I'm not sure if we're going to be able to get through all of 7 and 8 today, but I do want you to review the PowerPoint and make sure you're doing your weekly reading. And your second Christian history video reflection assignment. Okay, you have a second part of a Christian history video, and you're going to watch this video to give you a better understanding. And I like to do these things because for me, sometimes history can be very tedious. It's a lot of things going on, and you try to figure out what in the world is going on. So I like to um, do assignments like this. Here is the link right here, this little YouTube link. And what I want you to do is submit a 1-page to 2-page double-spaced summary of the video. And you're going to tell if you found anything interesting, if you found anything new. Many times I know when I watch these, I find so many new things. I watch your grammar and any spelling errors when you turn it in. Okay, so that's going to wrap us for week 5. Week 5. All right, as I'm transitioning, let me transition. I'm gonna go back. I know we're in week 5, but I need to go back to week 4, and I know we did not finish chapter 6, so let me go back to that real quick. Let's see if I can bring this up. Okay, Marshall, I can see you, Marshall. Marshall, can you see the PowerPoint that says Views of Mary? Give me a thumbs up or no. Excellent, thank you. All right, so everybody, we're gonna go back a little bit, and I apologize that sometimes we just can't get it all, can't get it all in there, and I'll try not to move too fast, but we'll try to pick up a little bit. And please forgive me for my nasal sound. All right, so last week we started talking about how the church is dividing, and they divide it into, like, you'll see the east and the west. Okay, Rome is falling and crumbling a bit here, and you will see that the church is also splitting based on theological views. And when we talk about theological views, it's how we see, if you see that word theology, it's how we view or how we see God, or things of God. So here is a big, what's the word, division of how some Christians saw Mother Mary. Okay, so some Christians at the time saw Mother Mary as a bearer of God, meaning that Mother Mary carried Jesus, who was both God and divine. And then others saw Mary as a bearer of man, meaning that, and the Nestorianism and Nestorius pushed this belief, right? And so that started Nestorianism, in which Mary, they said Mary carried Jesus, in her womb, and they believed that Jesus was a human man, but not necessarily divine. And I think we paused right here last week. This can go against what people were taught, right? And especially what the apostles and disciples were teaching. Here's another thing. We talked about this last week, I want to say. When you had these splits, when you had these differences of opinions in theology, this is the reason why a lot of the church leaders would have these things called councils. And they would get together and say, hey, y'all, this group over here saying this, and this about Mother Mary, and we don't believe that. And so this is another reason why we have creeds. I think we talked about that last week. We have things like Apostles' Creed, and they were born out of the particular reason of, hey, we're going to refute what you're talking about, and we're going to tell you this is what we believe. Okay, so let me pick it back up here. So we got more discussions about Jesus and who Jesus is. So remember, Nestorianism implied that there was a divide between the human and the divine natures of Christ. This really gets into theology. And so the church was having an issue with that. And they were like, wait a minute, what do we believe? So some people said, well, Jesus was, maybe that Jesus was human. Another scholar, and I'm going to mess up his name, Eutyches, said that there is only one divine nature of Christ. Here we go, another meeting, y'all. So the Council of Chalcedon rejected both Nestorius and Eutyches, and they agreed that the divine and the human are fused in one. Okay, so I want y'all to remember that. The Council of Chalcedon rejected both Nestorius and Eutyches, and I know I'm probably mispronouncing his name, I'm sorry. But and so let me just pause right there. The Council of Chalcedon is where you kind of see where churches have taken that reasoning and kind of moved on, that yes, that Jesus Christ is both divine and human altogether, not separate entities, not straight man only and not divine only. Okay, y'all right there? All right. Now let me say this too, before we go on any further. Even today, in what is this, 2022, there are and I know I'm moving ahead in the book, but there are going to be, and y'all know, Christianity has so many different splits, so many different what's the word I want to say? Denominations or different types, right? So you have like the Unitarian Church. And Unitarian Church, you may see that there, you don't see a whole lot of them like a Methodist or Baptist churches or Lutheran churches or something like that. But Unitarian believe a little bit more like Nestorian, where they just believe that God is one and not. And when we get more into talking about the Trinity a little bit later, so you will see that, these theologies didn't just go away. All right, I got a black Jesus, y'all. All right, so let's move right here to monophysites. Monophysites. Monophysitism, long word, right? Is a Christological position. So let me stop on that word. Y'all gonna get some big words y'all can put on people. Christology is the study of Christ. So y'all go figure that. Christology is the study of Christ, and there's so many different aspects that you can study about Christ that fall up under that category. But monophysitism position says that after the union of the divine and the human in the historical incarnation of Jesus becoming flesh, becoming a born person, right? Jesus Christ as the incarnation of the eternal Son or the Word of God. If some of y'all were with me yesterday for John, in the Gospel of John, John says that, yes, Jesus was born, but born, yeah, I'm gonna focus on the Word of God being born and being made flesh. So anyway, monophysitism said that Jesus Christ had only a single nature, which was either, watch this, either divine or a synthesis of both divine and human nature. And so in monophysitism, and remember, y'all, it's not necessarily do we agree with it. We're just studying what it is, because many of our denominations today don't ascribe to these particular things. Excuse me. But what I want you to see is that over time, over the years, these leaders are trying to figure out theology. They're trying to figure out, how do we see God now? How do we pass on these teachings? And I think somebody brought this up last week. Sometimes they get away from their original teachings. Okay, excuse me. Sometimes they get away from it, and sometimes they're right on time. All right. All right. So let's go over here real quick, and I want to show you a picture of the Hagia Sophia. So as we're moving in Christianity, we're moving through, and now we're starting to build projects. There was an emperor named Justinian the First, and Justinian tried to restore the fortunes, of Christianity. Now, y'all remember a few chapters back, I think like chapter 4, we noticed that the Christians going through a lot of persecution had their churches destroyed, their writings destroyed, they were pushed away. And then we got some other leaders that were like, yeah, okay, we're going to help y'all get back on track. Justinian the First commissioned these major building projects, right? And look over on the right. This is a major church. Let me get the location for you, because I'm forgetting the location. But this was a major church building project. And let me see, the Hagia Sophia is in Turkey. It's in Turkey, Istanbul. And I just want you to see this. I may be able to find a video, but isn't this beautiful? And so we're thankful for leaders that wanted to help restore some of the building projects. So now we see that the church is starting to turn around a little bit more and gain some momentum. All right. Now we're going to pause a little bit right here so I don't get you too confused. So we're still in chapter 6 because we had to finish this up. So we're going to talk about Gregory the Great. Gregory the Great. Now Pope Gregory the First, he's also known as Saint Gregory the Great. And he's recorded, he's known for having this, he's famous for instigating the first recorded large-scale mission. Okay, so I want y'all to remember Pope Gregory. He is written down for instigating the first recorded large-scale mission from Rome And then he moves to Anglo-Saxon areas in England, and he wanted to convert them to Christianity because they were what we call pagan. They didn't serve Christ. All right, so it's interesting now. All right, and so this is about 500s to 600s. Now we start to see Christianity really get on the move and move to different countries. And this is a big mission. You know, if you moving from Rome and you're trying to go all the way over to the to England, that is pretty big. Another thing that Gregory the Great did, and I'm going to see if I can find an example real quick, is that he wrote a book. And his particular book was called Pastoral Care. And it was a book explaining the duties and what clergy and bishops were supposed to do. Good morning, everybody. Let me see if I can find that Pastoral Care. And that's by Pope Gregory. Let me see if I can, and I saw an example of it. And what I want to do is, let me see if I can pull this up. Sometimes I can find a PDF. Yeah, okay, stand by. I'm going to share it on our screen. And let me make it a little bit bigger because okay, students, I'm coming back to you and I want to show you an example. Now, don't get scared if you can't see it. It's all right. I'm going to post it in our class as well. All right, so you're just going to see it like typed up. And of course, Pope Gregory didn't have it looking all nice like this, but this is, you know, years and years and years and years later, somebody took it and typed it. Okay, so this is Pope Gregory, a copy of, let me say it like that, a copy of Gregory the Great's book on pastoral care. Now, I'm not going to read all of this. I'm going to make it a little bit larger. I'm not going to read all of this because it is, my eyes are bad. But I just want to highlight a couple of things for you. And then we're going to pause for discussion. Let me see if I can highlight this right here. All right, Pope Gregory, and remember y'all, this is like the 500s, 600s. He says, and I quote, "It is necessary that the good which is displayed in the life of the pastor should also be propagated by his speech." Let me say that again. It is necessary that the good which is displayed in the life of the pastor should also be propagated by his speech. I want somebody to open their microphone. Any pastors here? Tell me what you're thinking of Pope Gregory way back in the 600s having this type of opinion.
Well, it sounds like what I think what we say today is you got to practice what you preach.
All right. Go ahead, Mr. Lee.
That's what I say. He's saying that his life should be exemplified in what he speaks, what he teaches. You live the life that you talk about.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Displayed in your life, in the life of the pastor, should also be propagated by his speech. So you ever heard, there's a quote that says, some people won't read the Bible, but they'll watch you. Like you are, and I'm paraphrasing that, like the person should, especially if they're in leadership, exude the scriptures, even if the person hasn't read an area scripture, but they should see the scriptures in the pastor's life or in the pastor's words.
Right.
There's a quote that says, "You may be the only Bible that some people will read."
That's it. That's it. Thank you, Chloe. I was paraphrasing it. That's right.
It always stuck with me.
That's right. It will stick with us, right? Because sometimes people are just not going to pick up the Bible, but they are going to watch individuals, and that's much more powerful.
Mhm. Yes.
All right, let's go down here. We're not going to read this whole thing because it's 600 pages, but I just wanted you to see some of the things that he was thinking about and writing about. And I'll post this for you. It's about 600 pages, and you can look at it. You can save it to your computer, okay? Look at chapter 1. I like this. Gregory said, Pope Gregory, excuse me, he says that the unskillful venture not to approach an office of authority. He said, no one presumes to teach an art till he has first, with intent, meditation, learnt it. What rashness is it then for the unskillful to assume pastoral authority, since the government of souls is the art of arts? My goodness. And that's what I read right there. Anybody want to comment on Pope Gregory's book here? This is chapter 1. He comes off swinging, doesn't he?
It just boggles my mind that in the fifth, the 6th or 7th century, people were thinking like this. You know, you think that's modern thinking, but even as far back as then, they were thinking about the role of a pastor and the how a pastor should govern himself or talk or act, and that he should be knowledgeable in what he's teaching.
Right. Very good. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Like, wow, it really does blow your mind that Gregory sat down and put this book together. Now, okay, here's my next question for y'all. Why do you think he put the book together? There's no
There was
right.
a lot of confusion going on, a lot of different ideologies and different things that one would say this and one would say that, and one came from another tradition, and so he saw a need for it.
That's right. So the book came out of a need. Perhaps they had, and we know, because as we've been doing our reading so far, every pope and every bishop and every pastor and every church leader was not on the up and up. And it's still that way today. But yeah. So I will post that PDF for you, and you can save that. Good morning. Good
Professor
morning.
Barry, every week you give us something interesting.
Oh, bless you.
That we had not seen or heard of before.
I'm telling you, it really does blow your mind to think. I'm gonna transition y'all to our next one. It really does blow your mind, as Gloria said, that these individuals, and we don't want to call them ignorant, that's not the right word. What do I want to say? That they had so much care for the church, right? That they wanted the leadership to know the right way. Okay, here we go. I'm coming back to you. All right, here we go. I'm coming back to you, and we're going to, I don't think that we will finish chapter 8. We will get to chapter 7. Let's jump right on in. All right, and I think I got a video for us today. Let's talk about chapter 7. We'll see how we're doing with 8, okay? Now we're moving into the 7th century. Now, as if it wasn't already enough mess going on, we have more divisions in the East and the West. So remember, So remember, so we have the Eastern Empire is starting to become more Greek, okay? And that's where, you know, later on we'll talk a little bit more about Greek Orthodox and things like that. But now we see that in the 7th century, remember we talked about Constantine a while back at Constantinople, which is now modern day Turkey, but this becomes an area that really, really, really grows for the Eastern Empire and the eastern part of the church. Now, put a pin in everything. Now, we got a new religion that's brewing, and we have a new religion of Prophet Muhammad that is starting. And this is going to cause some issues because now Christianity is trying to figure out how do we coexist. Not that other religions weren't happening at the same time, they were, but now as we have this new religion now starting into Islam, it's going to cause some friction. I think that's the best word. It's going to cause some friction. All right. If you look on the right-hand side of this beautiful picture, this is the Bobbio Monastery. And we're going to pause a little bit. I'm going to give you, we're going to give a little bit of our discussion post, but not too much because you got to do your work. We're going to talk a little bit about our discussion post on monasteries. But this Irish abbot, kind of like a monk, Columbanus, he settled in northern Italy in around the 600s, early 600s, and founded this monastery. But monasteries were not just a place to go and pray for them, but it was a place where they could learn. So monasteries were a place of scholarship. Books were found there. Research was done there. Okay. So the monks and the abbots would really dedicate their lives, they would dedicate their entire life to study and to mission. That was it. All right. Now, I want you to look at the picture here. I like pictures, and that it paints pictures for us. Excuse me. The church is moving. The church is moving and the church is growing. And so now we have Christianity has different cultures coming to it. And when I say cultures, every one of us, you know, where especially if you start to get into your the last part of this class, excuse me, y'all, will be like research paper, and we'll talk about different types of Christianity. So you have Irish Christianity, we have Scottish, the British will have their flavor on Christianity, the Welsh, and the Celtic Christians, and that would be more like in the Ireland area. They focused more on creating the monasteries rather than like a big church. And if you look over there on the right-hand side of this picture, you see the two men in that picture. These are monks, okay? And they practice a particular thing called tonsuring. And have you ever seen pictures like that? And they would take, like, almost looks like a hat. And they would take the hair off the top and just leave some hair down here. But they would cut this hair off, and that hair represented, or that hair, losing that hair, should I say, represented humility. Humility. Okay. And let me just pause. There's so many things coming to my mind real quick before we go to Celtic Christianity. But when we talk about attire, if you look at the monk's attire, it was very plain. It almost looked like a hood kind of thing, and it was long and probably black or brown. and maybe sometimes white or like tannish colors, but it wasn't going to have a print in it. It wasn't going to be anything designer looking, nothing like that. Okay. All right, I want to see if you've ever seen this symbol before. I see some heads shaking. Anybody seen this symbol on the left? Okay, I see some hands. Or anybody seen this symbol of this cross on the right? All right, okay, so some people are already familiar with those. Now, here's the thing. As Christianity starts to grow, it becomes more cultural to the individuals. Okay, so Celtic Christianity, now this is more like in the Ireland area. This refers more to like the early like medieval times. So this is about maybe about the 4th or 5th century in Ireland. But over on the right hand side, over on the left hand side is their symbol for the Trinity. Okay, is their symbol for the Trinity. And if all of us have our own screens up, see if you can put your finger on it. So they're going to be 3 things. So I want you to see if you can follow my cursor. So this is their symbol for the Trinity. So you see the circle? See the circle that's going around? Okay, so there's a circle that's going around. Okay, so that's one. And then we have, I'm trying to trace it, y'all. And then we have one that goes up and it's all intertwined. Goes down and loops back around. All intertwined there. And so this is their symbol for the Trinity. Okay. And then on the right-hand side, this is their symbol of their cross. So they have a cross, but one thing that of the Celtic cross is that they will have the circle representing God in the middle. Okay, so you see the circle here representing God on the cross, and the circle representing God the Father in the symbol for the Trinity that goes around. And so it's important for us as scholars of Christian history, and I'm gonna pause, I know I've been talking, it's important for us to recognize these symbols, to revere these symbols and to understand them. And it's not that they were wrong or anything, but I want you to also understand that as Christianity moves into Africa, and then we're getting ready to talk about China, it's going to take the flavor, and I use that word flavor, I don't know if that's the right word, but of the culture, okay? Let me pause right here. I know I've been talking a lot. Any questions, comments? Anybody want to jump in there?
Professor Berry, last night I was watching some documentary, and it was about the music in the Black church, and that's sort of like what they said, that they were not invited, but the slaves were made to go to the churches.
Right.
But what they eventually did, they brought their culture from Africa into the church, the beats, the drum beats, and the movement and things like that. So it was Christianity, but it was based on their culture.
On their culture. That's correct. So very good. Good point right here. And then I'll jump to anybody else wants to jump in there. So remember, where we see it move all over the world, the people are there. The geography is there, and that's going to determine how they practice their Christianity. Anybody else want to jump in there before we get to the Chinese? All right, very good. Good discussion. Okay, so now remember, Celtic Christianity. Somebody tell me, where is this? What area are we talking about? Look at my cursor.
Ireland.
Ireland. Now, we're going to move all the way from Ireland. We're going to go over to China. We're traveling today. And let me just say this, and we can have a discussion. Many times, how do I say this politically correct? Many times I think in America, we don't think of certain places as practicing Christianity. Or one particular area or one in question, not in question, but for example, would be Asia or in China, because sometimes we're thinking more so, maybe they're focusing on another religion, but Christianity was present as well. Did you know that the Apostle Thomas may have traveled to China? Okay. And the first historical evidence of Christianity in China is what's called, and I know I'm going to mispronounce this, and I apologize, the Xianfu stone. The Xianfu stone. And this particular stone, excuse me, marked the arrival of a particular missionary, and that missionary, that Christian missionary, was named Alopen. And Alopen came from the church, from the Church of the East. So remember, we got like that East and West split. Now, here's the big thing I want to pause and discuss about. The Chinese church did have an issue because at the time they did not have a Bible written in their language. And so this is the reason why Christianity didn't flourish as much as the other religions that were located in China. Okay. So the Chinese church at the time didn't have a Bible in their language. So let's pause. Anybody want to open your microphone? That would be difficult, right? If somebody's telling you, this is how you worship, this is how you do it, these are the scriptures, and I can't read it for myself. Mm-hmm. All right. So
I have a comment.
Go ahead.
Good afternoon. Well, good morning, everyone.
Good
I know
morning.
you had said at the beginning of our semester that geographic location means a lot
Yeah.
when it comes to this. And so, and I know all of us pull from our own experiences when we make sense with current information and new information and our own personal beliefs automatically, I don't want to say impose or interfere, but they merge with how we believe.
Sure.
But I don't think that it's just because they didn't have a Bible in China, in their language. I think it's some other things. When I think about geographic location, I think about the Ring of Fire.
Sure.
Being that, you know, there's a Pacific belt line around these areas where earthquakes and volcanic action takes place and has taken place for centuries along this region. And what my beliefs are when it comes to volcanoes and lava and all the things that come out, and spirits and other things. So I think that has a play into it as well. Because if they were able to take the Bible and translate it to all these other languages, they could have translated it to Chinese as well. But why didn't they? And why wasn't it? I just think that has something to do with it.
Yeah. So eventually, good point. Eventually, the Bible was translated into Chinese, but at this particular time, they didn't have it translated for them. Now, let me also go back a little bit too. Hold on, y'all. Remember, Bibles are not plentiful. So remember, I keep going back, they don't have an app on their phone. They can't go to the bookstore. They can't go to Amazon and order one. Who was printing them? I don't know. So printing press was not large at that time either. So remember, we're still talking about maybe like the seventh or eighth century at this particular point. Now, to answer that, why wasn't it? So later on, as technology progresses, language progresses, and we have people in place to translate from okay. Remember, Old Testament was in Hebrew, New Testament was in Greek. So imagine you had to get individuals that understood Hebrew and Greek and translated to Chinese, some kind of how here. And I can just imagine um, that was probably a feat at that particular time. But we're so thankful that we have it. Somebody mute your microphone. We're so thankful that we have it in multiple languages now. That's a very good point. And here's another thing to go. I'm coming right back.
If Turkey was really rising with Muhammad, right? So
Yes.
I could imagine that they wanted to interfere the spread of Christianity as well.
In China,
Mhm. They probably interrupted the evangelistic crusade.
well, at that particular time, remember in China, your competing religions are going to be Confucianism, um, Taoism, things like that are starting to pick up, and then you have this Christianity. But the thing about Christianity, as opposed to like Confucianism and Buddhism and things like that, they didn't have it in their language. So when we're talking about Christian education, I need a book. I need somebody. I need a magazine. And I'm just joking because they didn't have magazines, but something for them to grasp.
Professor Berry.
Yes, go right ahead.
This is what maybe I'm on the wrong page, but when Christianity was coming into China, we have to look at the history. Why were we in China? What was the purpose of it? It was economical. It was to advance the status of the culture from the United States, from England, from France, all of those. But when we got there, to hold on to what we wanted to acquire, Christianity was introduced. Say, if we can convert them and they can believe like we, then we have gained an upper foot or a foothold into the country, is to conform, to allow them to see Christianity instead of believing Buddha or believing in whatever Confucius, instead of believing in that. So really, when we see Christianity going into different countries and cultures, is based upon the advancement of the United States, their interest in everything.
But Carolyn, hold on. Let me just pause right there. Remember that at this particular point in history, United States does not even exist.
Exactly.
Okay, but you had other cultures, such you had France, you had those countries, even though the United States didn't, but you do have France, you do have England, you have the Romans, the expansion of the countries. If in any way to be able to introduce anything is to be able to be in the country and have a foothold into the country itself.
Okay, I see what you're saying, but I don't want you to confuse where we are right here with
Western religion.
what the West was doing. So like when we fast forward, let's say we fast forward 1,000 years or so, don't confuse like American missionaries that went to Africa, because that's a totally different
That
thing.
was different. Yeah, that was different.
That was different.
You know,
But
yes.
hold on, Sharon, I'm gonna come right. Hold on, Sharon, I'm coming right back. But remember, go back to my first point. Go back to the first point on that. So we're starting off really early with Apostle Paul, and we see that Paul could have traveled as far east as China to spread. Now remember, the mentality here is mission, and the mission is we got to spread Christ. We're spreading, so we're moving out of Rome. We just on the previous slide, we were in Ireland, and we see the Irish church there. We're going to see it move, further north. We're going to see it in Russia and things of that sort. So now it's spreading the word. So this is the whole point of mission. We haven't gotten to the point. We're going to get there when mission turns into power and land. Sharon.
Yes, that's what I was saying. Because Paul, he went all over Asia Minor, as they so-called call
Yes.
it. So you're talking the Ephesians, you're talking Galatians, you're talking Colossians. If and I've even read that some people would say that Jesus was Asian because he had an earthly life in Palestine, and that that was on the continent of Asia, and and all of this Asia Minor evangelism and stuff. So it's just interesting to see everywhere that the apostle went and where Jesus was, and then all of a sudden there is no Chinese church, there is no Bible in China. It's just really interesting looking at that,
So remember, when you see that, say that there's no Bible in China yet at that particular
at
point.
that time, right?
Yes.
Right.
Very good, scholars. How we doing here? Okay, 11:48. Let's see here. All right. So I think I want to talk about this. Ooh, I don't know. Okay, so let's talk about the Muslims are moving in, and now this is where we start to see even more splits, and we start to get into this issue of control and wars. So now Muslims are starting to move into different territories. So we have what are called Muslim Arab armies, and they start to move into territories that were Christian. All right. So I just want, just think about it. So you have your house. You live in a beautiful house, and you have a beautiful neighborhood. And then all of a sudden you come and some other group of neighbors have moved into your neighborhood. And you're like, wait a minute, this used to be our neighborhood. What are you talking about? Well, that's what happened with Christian areas or Christian territories. So Muslim Arabs started to come in and say, well, we're going to take over your territory. So needless to say, you know that this caused an issue. So by about 638, and always remember your timeline. So about 638, Jerusalem was under Muslim control by about 638. And they also took over the Egyptian city, Alexandria. Okay, y'all remember Egypt is in Africa. So here we go for another meeting. I'm telling y'all, one thing that we know how to do in church is meet. But we get another meeting. The Quinisext Council met to talk about it. So there was strategy. So they're saying, wait a minute, the Muslims are coming into our territory. They're taking over our neighborhoods. They're taking over our land. They're taking over our neighborhoods and our schools and, those type of things. What are we going to do? And you know that this was not seen as an easy thing, because as we start getting to the years to come, I think we might have finished this, we start to get into a lot of a lot of problems and wars over territory. All right. Let's talk about images. And now we're having issues between what do we do in this new era with images. And when I talk about images, I'm talking like maybe like a statue or something. So Jewish and Muslim religions would forbade the use of an image in the worship of God. Okay. And I want to go down so I'm going to go over to the blue and then I'll come down to the green and the red one. Veneration, or the veneration of the saints, is an act of honoring a saint or a person who's been identified as like this high degree of a person, like they're holy. We will see this a lot in the Catholic Church. So the Catholic Church, if anybody has been near Catholic Church, they are, let me see if I can pull one up, but they are known for the beautiful statues of maybe Jesus or a statue of Mary. And excuse me, y'all, I got a sneeze that won't come out. And these statues are not just of anyone, but they are of someone who is in high regard. Even angels. You may have anybody seen like statues of angels? You may see them around, especially like in maybe like a Catholic church. All right, so here we go. We got this up and down thing again. In about 726, Emperor Leo declared that honoring these statues of these saints or whatever it was, because it was a thing, it wasn't a real person. And Leo said, no, that is wrong. It's idolatrous. Get rid of them. But look over in the red block. But the monks defended the icons. The monks defended them. So they said, no, let us keep our statues of our saints, and let us keep our statues of, maybe a statue of Jesus, of Mary, of the angels. They wanted to keep them. Okay, I'm gonna pause right here. I'm gonna see if I can find a beautiful picture of a Catholic church. Anybody got a question, comment? Let me see if I can pull this up real quick. Anybody been in a Catholic church? Yeah, okay, I see some hands shaking. So you have seen these beautiful, let's see if I can find them. And I mean, especially those of us, some of our students have traveled abroad, and if I can find one, and they are just gorgeous. Let me see. Oh yeah, okay, here's some. I'm coming back to you. And one of the things that, let's see if I can pull this up. Sorry, y'all. One of the things that the Catholic Church is known for is their beautiful, let's see, yeah, here it is. Beautiful statues. And these are just some images. Let me see if I can pull one up here that you can see. These are just some images at actual churches. This is, I believe this is like a late, excuse me, this is Mother Mary. Oh, here's one. This would be one of a pope. Okay. Let's see if I can find another one. Oh, this is a beautiful one. Out in a garden. I'm not sure exactly who this is supposed to be, but probably a saint, and looks like a little
like
cherub.
a monk, because
Yeah,
the hairstyle you told us about.
right. Sure does.
That little bowl cut or whatever.
The cut, and then it looks like maybe a little cherub angel.
Yeah, and it got the hood. Looks like the hood thing that goes
That's right. That's right. So these are just examples. If you ever go to a Catholic church, let me see if I can find one within. Okay, here's one with inside. This is one inside of a Catholic church. Not sure exactly who this is. Um, Another sweet little angel, I guess. But Catholic churches are known for these beautiful statues. And this is on the inside. So these are just some pictures, just some random pictures. These are on the inside of a Catholic church. I believe this one says it's St. Francis. St. Francis. And this is a statue on an altar. Here's one on the outside of a Catholic church. Not sure who this is. St. Anthony. Okay, St. Anthony, I believe this is. Maybe St. Anthony is saving the baby. But I just wanted to show you that. We'll come back to our class, but just wanted to show you that this is just very interesting and very ornate. You will see these statues. Yes, you will see these statues a little bit more in our Catholic churches, as opposed to, I saw some hands raised, I'm sorry, as opposed to more like a Methodist or Baptist churches. Not to say that they won't have any, but you don't see them as much. I apologize. I see some hands raised. I see Lee and Janice and Carolyn. Anybody have any questions? No? Okay, maybe they were up from maybe they were up from earlier. Any questions, comments?
Professor Berry, I was thinking about where did they get the money to I mean, because some of the churches you saw, the Catholic churches, there was gold and all that. Where did the money from? The people were very poor. The majority of the people were farmers or peasants. Did Rome? I mean, I mean, even in that time, it was costly to build a church with all that.
That's a very good point. I'm sure it was costly with all the beautiful materials, and it looks like they didn't skimp
No,
on certain things. It wasn't. And here's the other thing too. I couldn't put a
they didn't
price.
have a building fund.
They had a building fund, okay, and they still raise it. But here's the thing: they were built well, and I know some of us were talking. Some of my students were talking last class period about, as you traveled afar, as you traveled different places, these buildings are still intact. Not to say that it's over the years they didn't fix the floor, fix the roof, or whatever, fix the steeple. But isn't it awesome that these churches are still intact and still there today, hundreds and hundreds and if not thousands of years old. But I just wanted to show you that. Just quick question as we leave out. So think about the churches that you have visited. Have you, if it's not, and I'm not talking about a Catholic church, but have you seen a statue inside or outside? Gloria's shaking her head no.
Not a Christian church. I don't think so. They have like the little cornerstone. That's as much as I've seen. I haven't seen any. I don't think I've seen statues.
No statues in my church. Right. Okay. I said everybody's like, And so I wanted you to think about that. And remember, we talked last class period and picked it up today on that split, the east and the who
West.
and the west. Okay, and look like and you'll see the east will become more Catholic. You see more Roman Catholic and things, and then we later on, hundreds and hundreds and years later, will kind of follow more of the West. And so those, if you've been to a Baptist church, non-denominational churches or Methodist churches, what else am I forgetting? We don't tend to see statues inside the building or outside. If you do, take a picture. That would be great for us to share.
Professor Berry, I found it interesting that the early church, it grew out of persecution because everybody was moving, and now we see that they are deliberately going. They didn't call it missionaries back in 100 or 200. People were fleeing for their lives, but now the church is deliberately going into these areas that before it's voluntary now, before it wasn't. And
Yes.
and the two ways that the church grew.
Good observation, Gloria. You're right. Now they could get up and move.
Yeah.
Because they want to. Sharon shared in the chat a picture of a statue, and you may have to click on it. She said this is the Vatican, and it sits behind the Pope. My Lord. What is it, Sharon?
Wow.
Is it an angel?
I'm gonna show you. It's a picture that sits in the Vatican behind the Pope.
Wow.
Oh,
Mhm.
I don't know.
Yes,
Wow.
That's a lot.
that's a lot.
That's a. I'm gonna just say that's a lot. That's a lot of statue. I might be scared, but that's a lot of statue.
That sits behind the Pope in the
It
Vatican.
sits behind the Pope.
Uh-huh. In the Vatican.
If I
Yes,
preach for
ma'am.
that, I might be scared to preach in front of that.
Mhm.
Amen. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, I got a better picture if you want to see it. It's deep.
Who is it?
It's supposed to be Pope Francis.
Oh, okay.
Hold on. It's supposed to be Pope Francis. Yeah, it's there it is. Can you see it?
I think the first slide has to be moved to.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
And there's your Pope down there.
Hmm.
Mhm. I don't know what happened to Doc. I just requested to get her back on. I don't know what happened. She fell off.
Can you see me?
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I pulled you back in.
It was me. I hit to minimize my screen, and I left out of the whole thing. So I
I said, oh my God.
Okay. No, that was me. I said, okay, and I was minimizing the screen and clicked too much. I do apologize for that. We were pausing that time anyway. Sharon, you had something to share, so or did you post it, or if not, we'll go ahead and.
Yes, ma'am. I
Oh.
shared it. I shared my screen and then showed them. It's
Okay.
supposed to be a depiction of Pope Francis,
Okay.
but it is the actual whole sculpture with that icon in the middle. I'm sorry, statue in the middle. that's supposed to represent Pope Francis, and it
Wow.
sits behind the Pope in the Vatican.
It's
Wow.
fascinating. It looks very almost demonic. It looks scary. You know,
It's pretty big.
I don't know what they I guess it's supposed to, I don't know.
Yes, that was pretty big. Well, students, I thank you so much. This has been a rich discussion. We are going to pause right here. Remember to go back to module week 5 and complete your assignments by Sunday. And those who are watching, make sure that you are keeping up. Thank you so much. Going to see you guys next week. And Troy, stay with me, okay? Okay. All right, let me hit stop here.
See you later.
Bye.
Bye-bye.